Welcome back to another edition of the Big Blue Breakdown. I'm Paul Dottino as we review the Giants' second preseason game of the season, a 31-12 beating of the New York Jets in their preseason rivalry game that we have come to experience each and every season. Another impressive day for the Giants as they just continue to check so many boxes, although it's only August and you do have to temper your enthusiasm just a bit. This team is doing a lot of very good things. Well, let's give you the quick overview before we go to the individual game balls and gassers, because ultimately, that's really what I think is providing a feel good feeling for the Giants, is that the big picture is really looking very good at this point. For example, for the second week in a row, the Giants offense has scored more than 30 points. They had over 475 yards of total offense to be exact after last week, I should say, against Buffalo, erupting for nearly 400 yards of offense. The Giants scored points on 5 of 10 possessions. They were 3 for 4 in the red zone. They converted 5 of 9 third down opportunities. Did not try any fourth downs, by the way. In 38 pass attempts, they finally allowed some sacks. They gave up only 2. We'll consider that a positive. They ran for 3 touchdowns, each one coming from the 1 yard line, 2 on quarterback sneaks, 1 a plunge by Devin Singletary. Dart and Winston, by the way, have the quarterback sneaks. What else did you really like? Well, the Giants had 8 different plays of 20-plus yards in the game, including an 80-yard completion on a post route from Russell Wilson to Bo Collins early in the game. And 17 different players caught passes from the Giants' 4 quarterbacks that they used on the night. So they spread the wealth around. And yes, Jalen Hyatt did play and caught a pass in this game early on when he had an opportunity and made a nice nifty move to get a few yards after the catch as well. On defense, what did you like? They gave up only 2 field goals on 6 first half possessions. They allowed the Jets to go 19 of 37 through the air for 192 yards with just 1 touchdown, and there was 1 interception. That one by Mekhi Page. They only gave up the 1 touchdown, and that was a late one to Skinner in the 4th quarter on a spectacular extended diving catch in the back left corner of the end zone. What else did you really like about what the Giants did in Saturday night's game? Special teams only allowed punt returns of 4 and 3 yards on 3 punts. The other one was downed. And I might add, it was also downed inside the 10-yard line. But we'll get to more of that in just a little bit. Finally, one other item you had to really like about it, if you're the Giants coaching staff, after getting flagged and charged with 10 penalties marked off against Buffalo, the Giants were only marked off for 5 penalties worth 22 yards against the Jets. Okay, so what didn't you like if you're the coaching staff? Well, you were -1 in the turnover ratio. You got 1 interception. You threw 2 interceptions. Now, I might add that One of the interceptions was a complete fluke off a ball that bounced off a Jets defender in the end zone late in the game. But nonetheless, the Giants were -1 in the turnover ratio. The other interception was on a miscommunication of a route that Russell Wilson had tried to throw to Bo Collins in the end zone. The ball went in and he went out, and it was intercepted. Okay. The Giants only had 80 yards rushing in this game on 21 carries for less than 4 yards a carry. That's not something you want to see offensively. Defensively, can't be thrilled with giving up 141 yards on the ground on 33 tries. That's a 4.3-yard average. Although it's quite clear in this game that the Jets did mean to run the ball a lot, and they were going to concentrate on their rushing attack. They should be fairly pleased with how they ran it. 19 attempts for 85 yards in the first half, including 2 runs of more than 10 yards by their running backs in the first quarter. Allen and Hall each breaking off big plays on the ground. Giants tackling was not as sharp as you'd like it to be in the first half, especially with the first and second unit players. Giants only finished with 2 quarterback hits in this game, and you certainly want to see more than that. In fact, just to make sure it is correct, no sacks. 2 quarterback hits and no sacks for the Giants defense. They did give up 8 of 17 conversions on third down. Jets threw the ball a total of 37 times, going 19 for 37 for 192 yards with the touchdown and the pick. On special teams, well, we already told you there was really a lot to like, and for the second week in a row, really wasn't much to say bad about the special teams. They just performed at a really high level all around in terms of the special team units. They did real well against Buffalo. They did well against the Jets. So that's an overview of the good and the bad in this Giants victory over the Jets. It is time to get to our Gameballs and Gassers. Well, look, folks, you have to pump the brakes on any spectacular performance during the preseason, but we know quarterback Jaxson Dart, 14 of 16 for 137 yards and a touchdown. At one point during the game, in the first half, remember, Russell Wilson started, and then Dart came in. And by the way, once again, the Giants had really good performances from their QBs. Even Tommy DeVito, who did not lead them to a scoring drive, okay, still threw the ball well. 3 of the Giants quarterbacks drove to points. Last week, all 4 of them drove to points against Buffalo. But let's get back to Dart for a second. At one point, he had 13 consecutive completions. His only 2 incompletions on the night. A back shoulder throw to Bo Collins. That was, a tough catch, but the ball was thrown in a good spot. And the pass was defended to little Jordan Humphrey at the start of the third quarter on a nice play by the defensive back. So what more could you ask for from Jaxson Dart? Also had the 1-yard plunge on the quarterback sneak for the touchdown. Dart did finish rushing the ball with 2 carries for 5 yards. He also had a 4-yard carry earlier in the game. He went down fine on a tackle. It wasn't like he led with his shoulder or his head. It was a simple tackle. No complaints there. Jaxson Dart certainly was confident, assertive, threw the ball extremely well, exactly where it had to be. And if you thought last week he played really well, you had to feel even better by what he did in game 2. Also on offense, honorable mention game balls. I'm going to do it for the second week in a row. Remember, last week, head coach Brian Dable gave a game ball to Turbo Miller. We're running back Dante Miller did it again this week. I know, 5 carries for 17 yards. And you're going to say to me, well, how could you do anything really great as a running back if you only had 5 carries for 17 yards? Well, he caught all 4 of his targets for 43 yards. He himself produced 4 first downs on those 9 touches from scrimmage, including 3 third-down conversions. Dante Miller is a dangerous weapon anytime he touches the ball at any time on the field. He is showing more patience, and when he decides to hit that turbo button, his speed is unmistakable. We'll talk more about Dante Miller in just a little bit, and you'll understand why. Evan Neal, who did not play in the first game against the Buffalo Bills, finally got in there this week and played most of the first half at guard for the Giants and only allowed 1 quarterback pressure. Looked like there was a miscommunication with John Michael Schmitz, the center. Looked as though he thought the Jets middle linebacker may be coming on a blitz. He and John Michael Schmitz did not have the proper communication on what they may have thought they saw. And then as a result, the defensive tackle was able to get a quick jump on Neal, who did not have a good first step on the snap. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to complain about the rest of his snaps in the game. A nice job done by Neal. On defense, Dane Belton, with Tyler Nubin not playing in this game. Dane Belton led the Giants with 6 tackles, was very active all over the field, and did a very nice job holding down one of the safety spots. Robertson Harris, Giants defensive lineman, had himself 4 tackles, was very active, penetrated the line of scrimmage well. That's the second week in a row he has shown some really nice flashes. And Makari Page had a diving interception that he was able to scoop up just before it hit the turf. So there you go. We'll go Belton as the defensive game ball. The other 2 players honorable mentions, and we already gave you the 2 honorable mention game balls on offense. On defense, on special teams, I should say. How could you not give a game ball to Turbo Miller? He was in a tackling pile on 4 different occasions on the special teams coverage units, although officially they only credited him with 1 total tackle. He added a 22-yard kickoff return, and he also got down and downed the punt at the Jets' 5-yard line. on the only one of Jamie Gillen's 3 punts that was not returned. Head coach Brian Dable has said the back end of the depth chart at every one of the positions, but I think we can safely assume wide receiver, tight end, running back, and defensive back. Those are usually the positions in such a quandary as you try to figure out who's going to make the team. They're all battling not just for their own position rooms, but also on special team snaps. Second week in a row, Dante Miller has shown up on all the special teams units and just doing a stellar job as a football player, not just as a running back. So we're going to go with the special teams game ball to Dante Miller. Where do we go for the Gassers? Well, on offense, it's pretty hard to find any Gassers, folks. I mean, when you consider that every healthy starter played at least some snaps, and most of the Giants' offensive starters and defensive starters played most of the first half, and the Giants at that point had grabbed a 7-6 lead. I know there were not a ton of points at that point, but it was clear that the Giants had owned the better of the play. I just can't see right now giving any Gassers out to anyone on offense. Now, on defense, I'm going to be a little bit tough here because, again, we want to try to see if we can find somebody. Quarterback TJ Moore, late in the second quarter, gave up back-to-back completions on a Jets scoring drive. You had Smith on a 3rd and 7 from the Giants 32 converting on a 16-yard pass play on the right side. Moore was in coverage, and then on first down at the Giants 18, gave up a short 3-yard pass to the right side. So back-to-back completions there in the final 25 seconds of the first half, and it wound up resulting in a Nick Folk 31-yard field goal that brought the Jets to within 7-6 at the break. 14 plays, 82 yards, I believe, is what we finally clocked it at. I'm sorry. It was, 14 plays, 82 yards, a little bit over 4 minutes on the scoring drive for the Jets. Look, I'm not saying that they were 2 huge plays, but considering that the Jets were at the Giants 32, would have been a 50-yard field goal if they don't go any further, but they do get back-to-back completions. That makes it a chip shot field goal for Folk, and the Jets get points on the board right at the end of the first half, and there's no team and no coach in this league that likes to see the opposition scratch the scoreboard just before they head into the locker room for that halftime break. So that's where I stood on the Gassers for the defense. On special teams, again, stellar work on special teams. We told you that earlier in the game balls. Giants special teams and coordinator Michael Gobriel had to be very, very pleased. Graham Gano feeling a bit under the weather. The Giants decided he did dress, but they did not play him. Jude McAtamney took care of all the kicking. There were no issues there. Jamie Gillen punted the ball well. Coverage units were fine. Good day for the Giants special teams. We won't hand out any Gassers there. Now, folks, I want to remind you, we're going to have a special edition of the Big Blue Breakdown live coming up tomorrow. That's on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Nighttime, of course, not in the daytime. It's not going to be a breakfast show. The Big Blue Breakdown live comes your way 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday night as we go over what's happening with the Giants going into their final preseason game on Thursday at home against the New England Patriots. So no sense in coming your way on Wednesday, the night before the game. No, we're going to come your way with a special edition of the Big Blue Breakdown live Monday night, and we will talk about what it is that you want to see and the critical roster battles going into the final preseason test against New England. It's all here on the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel and media network. We hope to see you then, and we'll be looking forward to your chats, your audio calls, and your video calls. I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time.